Good evening, good night, and welcome to Mindful Live 489. I'm your host, Nathan Springer. Well, kind of the co-host, joined by the host. What's your name, host? Alright. Good night, good night, good night, good night. Welcome. It's currently 10:13 p.m. in the beautiful Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. Currently now with brand new leadership, spanking new leadership, well, new old leadership. And they seem like they're going to be, if a deal can be made with the Tobagonian faction of it all, it seems like they will be able to have that 3/5 majority, that special majority that allows for real decisions to be made, real constitutional changes to be made, and I think that should be a good thing if a political party with a strong mandate comes in with that amount of a majority where they are able to do what they promised the people. They have the actual legislative power, the actual legal power to do the things that they promised the people they would do. And I think that should be good. That way we can expect zero excuses, hopefully, on those issues. You joining Patriotic Front for 2030? Listen, I was already hoping for Patriotic Front. I was already saying because to me, the more I look at it, my hope for the future of Trinidad elections is way more than just who is the Prime Minister. I'd like to see us actually use the system the way it's intended. I'd like to see members of parliament that are members of parliament for their district, that they have a relationship they build with their region. I would like if Michaela, I haven't yet seen the final result for Couva North. I'd like to see that final number. I would like if she maintains that presence throughout the region, throughout the district for the next 5 years, so that come next election, she has that possibility. PNM current and future base, who really are they? What do they value and believe? Everyone hints but never say. I don't know what you're talking about, you. What you're saying there makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. Everybody hints about it but never say. Never say what? Something that I noted though, looking at the preliminary results, is that this isn't as much of a UNC victory as it is a PNM loss. When you look at the number of votes that went in the directions, it's not that UNC gained a massive new set of voters that they, no, don't do that. Massive new set of voters that they didn't have before. That's not really what happened. Just the PNM lost a massive number of voters that they used to have. That's much more of what happened. And we're going to go through some of the numbers there to see that reality lay out before us and see exactly how this election went down and what may have been the reasons for those things. Alright, so once you're on the inside, hit that like button. If you are looking at this on TikTok, double tap the screen. That's how you hit the like button over there. If you are looking at this on YouTube, hit that like button over there. Also drop a comment if you have something to see. Share the live for those who might like this kind of stuff. Make sure you subscribe. Nathan Springer over there on YouTube. Don't miss any of the lives. You can catch them in case you miss them. Every day we're out there on YouTube streaming. Also, the lives are there on repeat. All right. So the preliminary results of this election, of this last election, is in. The preliminary results are in, and we could look here at a vote count, a specific vote count from each party, the number each party got. As I said, this is preliminary because yes, there are recounts going on and all of that, but the recounts, I presume, wouldn't change a whole massive deal what the results are. So let's look at these numbers. Let's look at these numbers. Party or independent candidate and their vote count, starting with APP. APP got us 718 voters altogether. Well done, APP. Well done. COP got 6,481. Hey. NNV 268. NTA 5,900. Nice. PDP got 1,400. PEP 9,300. Patriotic Front 21,000. That's actually very promising. That's a promising number. 21,000. The largest of the small parties. Night, Nisi. The largest of the small parties, 21,000. I think that's enough for you to see that there's a constituency for you to get there. There is some support that you can hang around for and stay relevant for the next political season, and I think that 21,000 would rise. She could come up, yeah, of course she could. I think 21,000 there is the basement, that's not the ceiling. That's the lowest amount very likely they'd get. Once they stay, I think that number is only going to go upwards. Now, let's look at this. PNM got 220,000 votes to the UNC's 334,000. I'm not putting the extra numbers in there. 220,000 to the UNC's 334,000. That's a massive amount. But let's look at the 2020 election. A breakdown of the same thing by numbers. The UNC in 2020 got 309,000. So the UNC increased their voter turnout by 20,000. Thereabouts. A little more than 20,000. They increased their voter turnout. That's not a whole big lot. 20,000 voters. In 2020, the PNM got 322,000 votes. What that means is the PNM lost 100,000 of their voters. Yes, the UNC gained the 20,000 voters thereabouts, but the PNM lost 100,000 voters of their loyal voters. And as I've said in the live before, really and truly, how many elections go, it's not that a party it wins because voters of the other party necessarily switch out and begin voting. It's not necessarily like their voters switch to the other party per se. That's not necessarily what happens. It's the people who usually vote for you don't vote for you. That's what happens. And that's what happened with the PNM. Ready to go sleep? Go sleep. Head inside and do that. Yeah. That's why I'll put it that it seems to me the PNM lost this. Much more than the UNC won, the PNM lost. And that's all. They didn't like Stewie? I don't think so. It's not necessarily the lost voters either. Between 2020 to 2025, we would have a lot of youths turning 18 and over. Yeah, glam nails, but what does that mean to the vote count dropping by 100,000 for the PNM? What does that suggest to them with voters turning 18? That means even among the voters turning 18, they didn't gain any voters. Like with the voters turning 18, you could say that, all right, you could probably 20,000 voters turned 18, and that's the increase in the UNC support. The UNC to me doesn't seem like they gained any massive swing of support through the country necessarily. 20,000 more is more, but it isn't really landslide kind of more. Where their families were predominantly UNC, so that could factor in. What? Not sure what you mean. Yeah. So the 20,000 gained for the UNC, I think you could suggest that, all right, maybe that's from natural gain, their supporters and those that turned 18 that wanted to support them, they gained a little bit, etc. Maybe, who knows? But yes, that's some gain. But 100,000 less? And I don't buy that it's Stewie. Yes, tie 6 yellow was the code. The people didn't come out to vote, people not seeing that. Chris, that's exactly the point I'm making. It's not that those 100,000 PNM voters came out and voted for the UNC, because the numbers don't tell that. Those 100,000 PNM voters did not vote. The voter turnout this year dropped by something like 4%, I believe, was the number they were saying. Something like a 4% drop. So, I believe that there was some people who just weren't very enthused to vote for the PNM, and then the PNM would have lost, I think, the attrition of a lot of those others in the 100,000 votes would have dispersed through the third parties. Would have been dispersed through the third parties. So the splitting of the vote that some people spoke about seems like it more affected the PNM certainly than the UNC. The people didn't go right. I honestly feel Kamala and all was surprised she win, but I'm shocked of the sweep. Maybe she was. What do you think the issue was? I think the sentiment of 10 years and we fed up of them was just too strong of a sentiment. I think that was just too strong of a sentiment. 10 years and we fed up. 10 years and we fed up. That seems to me too strong of a sentiment. And I am not sure in modern times how exactly you beat that sentiment. You owe ASAP to me. You see, the PNM's style of governance, I think, is the style of governance that people inevitably are always going to get tired of. Yeah, I don't know who she's picking as AG. Every 15 years we go through this. Yeah, it's kind of a cycle, but I think it's because of the PNM style of governance. The PNM style of institutional gridlock of governance. Everything is so fiercely institutional. Yes, you may be making progress, but you would certainly be able to point out that they aren't really doing things in a way that seems like it's jumping at the opportunities that exist. So it's easy generally, once the PNM is in power, it's easy for another party to come and say, this looks like it could be done a lot better. And that's what generally happens, I think, after a while. You see that this could be done better. But I also think that it's not as easy to do it better as some people think. And that's why very often when we get the change we're looking for, so we get when I say we, I'm speaking as a country, when we get the change we're looking for, we get the UNC and the coalition of interests in now, and all right, they get in there and we want to see them do things better. I don't think that governance necessarily allows for things to happen the way we would like them to happen all the time, as easily and straightforward as we see. However, the existence and strength, I think, of the third parties this election bodes well for the future of Trinidad's electorate. It bodes well for the future of Trinidad's electorate. Now, as I regularly say, what we need to see happen is we need to see inroads into the bases of these parties. Some of the third parties seem to have made inroads into the PNM. I would like some of the third parties to make inroads into the UNC. I know just no them contractors and UNC financiers are happy. Well, of course they are. Patriotic Front should have been given a chance, yeah. But I mean, I don't think they really had a chance of winning the national election. But I'd have liked to see at least Michaela win her seat. You're quite correct, otherwise UNC would have 400,000 plus votes, but they didn't vote. Yeah. People weren't pleased with the continual lead of the PNM. And you know, democracies are given to that. I saw a post someone made where they say they believe that 10 years is enough for any party, and after 10 years any party should switch. That just for the sake of switching, even if they should switch. And I don't know if I fully buy that. I think that is how many Trinidadians think of it. Many Trinidadians think of it as we might as well switch. We'll see what else we could get on the other side. I think though that for countries to get real progress, you need stability. And the Trinidadian outlook of always looking to the greener other side, I think we're going to be flip-flopping between those parties for a long while and not getting much progress if we continue that way. Like, for Guyana's sake, I could nearly hope that for Guyana's sake, the party that is currently in power remains there for a couple terms. Hopefully they don't do corrupt things, but at least a couple terms would allow them to actually get their vision off the ground. Rowley and Imbert them like too much bully thing. Rowley isn't the most endearing character, and Imbert, I think, if any one person has to shoulder the blame for making the last PNM government an unliked government, I would put the majority of that blame on one Mr. Colm Imbert. Like, if we were to probably summarize the sentiment that caused, good night Dinesh, the sentiment that caused the PNM loss and the UNC victory, if we were to summarize that, I would say that this last government was not a well-liked government. And I would say even in 2015, when they were voting out the partnership government, I would say they weren't a well-liked government then. I would say in 2020, when they were voted in even after the Petrotrin business, I would say they weren't a liked government even now. They weren't a well-liked government. And it's nearly like they weren't very interested in being well-liked. You could wonder if that's the case. You look at some of the statements from Mr. Hines as a Minister of National Security saying, it's not my job to make you feel safe. Is it crack? Imbert and his many statements. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But I hope for the sake of Trinidad, people look at this and see, yes, indeed, third parties can and do make inroads into the PNM, and maybe in the coming elections they make more. But the problem in terms of getting into a base, looking at Trinidad's political landscape, not just who leads the country individually right now, is making roads into the UNC's base. Do you think the people didn't like Stuart could cause the drop in voting? I don't actually think so. I don't think it's Mr. Young that caused the 100,000 less for PNM. I don't think so. Good vibe. I hope you are correct. I hope you are correct. I admire your optimism, and I really do hope you are correct. Education is going to open up. What do you mean open up? How was education closed? Stuart Young is Rowley 2.2. Listen. The election is over. Do not come with election slogans inside of my chat, please. I will mute you. Let's speak like real people, not like NPCs, where we're just quoting off. Good night, cuz. We're just quoting off talking points and narratives. We'll mute. We don't do that. We don't do that over here. Find another life for that kind of stuff. Refuse to go higher, take the 4%, or case take years in industrial court. Well, let's see now. Let's see now. We'll be able to see how honest the last government was being. We'll be able to see how honest the last government was being. If indeed there isn't enough money out there and everybody has to get 4%, or if there is that 10%, 12%, 14% sitting around there, and it's very much possible to get that going. It's time for everyone to build back Trinidad and Tobago. Build back. So Trinidad and Tobago was destroyed. We're building it back to what time? What time we're building it back to? Almost destroyed, okay. And what time are we building it back to? When was Trinidad in its heyday? And what are you using as your barometer, as your measure to deem how destroyed or not destroyed Trinidad was or is? What's that Trinidad's destruction? Nathan, you on a walk, you say fellas pressure for money, but I want 10K and I breeze it at 300. Listen, you don't have to make that argument with me, you know. You don't have to make that argument with me, you know, Fireflame. Is it Fireflame who said that? Yeah, you don't have to make that argument with me. I'm in full agreement. And I thought that was a very callous thing. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I'll summarize it as this was a very unliked government. And to cap it off with that raise. And okay, I understand the arguments they were making. The arguments are that the Salaries Reviews Commission is who is in charge of this, and they came with the recommendation. But the reality is that the government is the one who is in charge of the Salaries Reviews Commission. They could have decided to discard that. And here's something that I'm curious to see. And this would blow my mind if they indeed do this. If they indeed do this, it will blow my mind, and they will get a lot of praise from me for this. See if you could reverse it. Like, granted, the increase in pay to the Prime Minister and those judges, it's not like that in and of itself is going to bankrupt the country. No, it's not going to bankrupt the country. But on the principle of it, especially seeing how many people in this country were upset by simply that move. Undo it. See if you could undo it. Now, I know the reality is, And this is why I wouldn't hold it against the government for not undoing it. The reality is that will actually be a very tricky thing to undo. And it's funny, It's funny. It's simple for the government to go in there and cut your pay or incrementally raise it by 1%, but it will be very hard for them to undo their pay raise. But I don't think it's impossible. And if indeed the new coalition of interest government have a 3/5 majority, they would have a legislative majority that would allow them to do a lot. Good vibe, good vibe. Can we stop? Please, stop. I get your point, but you aren't conversing. You nearly me. Are you a bot? Like, relax. So we're Trinidadians acting like we were literally on our hands and knees begging for food. Yes, some people act like that, but it's to the political benefit of some. It's to the political benefit of some. And I resent that implication because it's not true. We were here for the last 5 years, for the last 10 years, and we weren't dying. Border control, health issues, education, cleanup, police department. I agree, all of those are very important issues. It would be interesting to see how this government would deal with the Venezuelan migrant issue. And if the United States is turning back up the pressure on Venezuela, that may cause increased influx coming again. So it would be interesting to see how that difference would be in handling, what they're going to do with the registration of those migrants, if they're going to keep up with that or change that or tweak that or increase it or decrease it. That will be interesting. Health issues. What are the health issues in Trinidad and Tobago? Like, to be honest, we have a public health care, yes. And by and large, emergency treatment gets done, yes. But what is the main issue otherwise? Clean up police department, that will be very interesting. And with Alexander up there, what was his last rank? Inspector? Was he an inspector last? Is with him up there now, we'll see. You're living in such a blessed nation and still want to talk as though we were underground. It's crazy. Fireflame says since Rowley got in office, he's seeing the sky falling, but make sure he does ready before he left. Tallest says, I wonder how she's going to manage the float. You all see how Venezuelans live and what they have to endure. Hospital staff retrained. Really? Which hospital staff you'd like retrained, Gregory Selby? The nurses? Chris says, one thing I want to see is police must always be wearing body cam. They set up innocent people. All Gregory Selby says. Gregory, I think that may be a lot of hope to hope for. That may be a lot of hope to hope for. All the hospital staff retrained? Seems a bit unlikely. Police wearing body cams. I think that's up to the police. There's the reality of that, I think, is if the police start to wear body cams more, very likely we'd see that many of the people we thought were fighting the good fight against the police are actually crooks too. Proper management of Petrotrin refinery. That Petrotrin would be that will be interesting. That would be very interesting. I guess Oando from Nigeria is on a hard luck with that. But who is going to go in there? And the restructuring already happened. There's already Paria and what's the other one? Heritage. There's already Paria and Heritage. So, if Petrotrin is to reopen, how are we going to do it? When we loading up the Matix Wide Leather says, Wide Leather, you ready to answer me? Who is my people? When you said my people, who are you referring to? Privatization of WASA and TNTech ensure they do not lose workers. I don't think the government is going to privatize WASA and TNTech. I really don't think so. I am not sure how that's going to run. I'm not sure that's going to run in a country like Trinidad and Tobago. I don't think it's really feasible. Suggestion if the young ones doing nothing but crime, put them in the army. Well, we have had things like that. MyLat has existed. The youth camps were a thing. I mean Trinis. Oh, white leather. I would hope so. But you were saying that in juxtaposition to other Trinis. So the other Trinis would have been included in the My People too. That's all right. Yeah, MyLat exists. It's just to make sure that it's running up to mark. And I like those kind of programs. I think that's a good idea, that young men in particular who have all of this energy and know where to aim it, that you aim it into something useful. The atmosphere of the country is a positive one right now, and it's good to keep this. Good vibes? Good vibe? Listen, I am happy that you are feeling all of this euphoria, sir. Oh, ma'am, I am happy for you. I am happy. Privatization brings more jobs, Gregory Selby says. Oh, you think so? That's not true. That's not true necessarily. If you privatize WASA, whoever is coming in to run that is going to make sure it runs at peak efficiency. Peak efficiency may be firing 3/4 of WASA's staff. Does always talk about them running record. That does hurt me till this day. And you know the cruel thing about that fire flame, coming down to the end, it seems like even they basically admitted that they did a folly with that running of record, you know, because they reversed the tariff costs that they were going to charge record, and now they are begging other people, please go out there and re-enter the market because TCL only sending up prices. How are all these promises going to be fulfilled? Well, according to Mrs. Prasad Bisesa, she said they are going to reopen Petrotrin, and that's going to be lucrative, and they are going to cut the fraud and waste inside of the government and recoup money through that. So I guess the extra money wasted in fraud and waste, and I'm sure there's a lot of fraud and waste in the government how it currently runs. Hopefully the UNC cleans that up and they'll be able to get some extra money there. And they said Petrotrin. I remember back in 2015, I believe, the then partnership UNC promise included that they were planning to reopen Caroni also. Daniel Martin, who is Rochelle? We're gonna have a local Doge? Well, I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna have a local Doge. I don't know who you're going to put in charge of a local Doge, but I'd say we need it. And the thing is, I think the sugar industry could be profitable. I am 100% certain the oil and gas refinery business could be profitable. The question of whether the state could run those companies profitably, I think, is another question. That will be another question. Don't be surprised if Mittal come back and restart Tube City IMS. Mittal left because of Roger and his boys, Just so you know, it wasn't the PNM government that chased Mittal. It was Roger and his compatriots that chased Mittal out. So with Roger being buddy-buddy with the government, I am not sure if Mr. Mittal would be looking to come back. Yes, they can with the correct people, Good Vibe says. I agree, they can with the correct people, but can the government get the correct people? Has has any government in Trinidad's history ever run Carney or Petrotrin efficiently? The reality is, sugar, planting cane, harvesting cane, refining it to sugar was a profitable business. Kamala says she's going and cut waste. Does that mean Doge or just cutting PNM contracts? Well, no, because to make new money available, it wouldn't just be contracts, because contracts are paid out by the year. So the money for all those contracts would be paid out in some one of the particular budgets. So I don't think it would be contracts. It would have to be actual payments that are recurring inside of the government that are wasteful. No, Mittal left November 15 because the new government didn't want to review their electricity prices. Cane can also be biofuel, like in Brazil. White leather. I recall that the union carried Mittal to the industrial court and insisted that they be paid more, while Mittal said the factory isn't making enough to pay them more. They won in the industrial court, and the next week they announced they were pulling out. So Kamala said she's going to Philip will fix it. Well, we will see. We will see if he would. What do you think about Tobago going blue? No surprise, really and truly. Tobago does what Tobago does, you know. Tobago is the champion of swing voting constituencies. They vote. Tobago almost always votes where they think Tobago gets most benefit. That's how Tobago goes. Tobago goes the way they think they're going to get most benefit. And they have the setup right now, I think, to get that most benefit if the people that promised them the most benefit are serious about it. They have 2 seats that, if put together with the ruling government, would give that government that 3/5 majority. Meaning they could make vast changes to our constitution. Changes that Tobago thinks they need in order to retain their autonomy. So we're looking at that. Did Dr. Keith Rowley concede? Well, he is not the prime minister, but he is the political leader of the PNM, so yes. Interesting. Here. It is alleged the head of the industrial court was fired as fallout for that metal issue. Yeah, but you see how if you don't know, if I didn't know my history, somebody was going to try to mama guy you like if it's all political and that the unions don't mess up our industry all the same too. White leather, you didn't respond again. Yeah, it would be interesting for me to see. The Tobago People's Party and the UNC seem to have a closer relationship. Let's see if the UNC would be willing to give Tobago more of a share of the local budget. Especially seeing as the UNC represents not a soul in Tobago. Would the UNC be interested in giving Tobago more or an increased share of that budget? Do you all think so? People need to understand Tobago was never PNM, they were NAR. They fell into a loop and had to choose. No, I wouldn't even say Tobago was NAR. Tobago was never any party. Tobago was Tobago. Tobago looks out for Tobago's interests. That's about it. So whichever party comes in that is confident, that looks like it's going to see about Tobago's interests predominantly, Tobago goes with that party. There's a lot of work to be done by the UNC to clean up the mess that was left by the PNM. I really hope that I wouldn't be hearing that for the next 5 years. I really hope I wouldn't be hearing that for the next 5 years. Did PEP win the 3 seats? PEP? No, PEP won no seats. Do they deserve it? How did Tobago assist in the UNC's sweep in Trinidad, Wide Leather says. Well, we'll see. We will see, Wide Leather, because apparently deals were made. Deals were made. And yes, they may not assist in the UNC's local sweep, but they would have assisted in, 1, the general sentiment, and 2, they can assist in adding for that 3/5 majority. To clean up the mess, start from the top. Gregory Selby, I really hope I wouldn't be hearing this for the next 5 years. I do not want to hear the PNM create this mess. And that's why X is the way XYZ is. Because no one ran a campaign on we wouldn't be able to do anything because the current government messed it up so bad. No, you ran a campaign on we would be able to do XYZ, XYZ, and we would be better than that other government. So I really, and all governments love to do it. The PNM, even up till its last couple of years, was still doing that and pointing back to the partnership. I think that's in poor form. TPP and UNC have their relationship, so Tobago should get something they want. Chunks, I would like to see it. I would like to see it because I believe that TPP's promise to Tobagonians was that if they vote for TPP, TPP would be able to work along with the not PNM government to give Tobago what Tobago desires. Do you think the TPP would be able to keep that promise to their Tobagonian electorate? Tolle says, I really want to see what they do with Philip. Listen, the UNC got 20,000 more votes. 20,000 more, I think, is something that maybe Philip and the union brought. Now, as I pointed out at the start of this live, so for someone like Wide Leather, this is something to keep in mind as you talk about who helped the UNC sweep in Trinidad. The UNC only gained 20,000 voters. 20,000. You might safely say that's the union and Mr. Philip. The way the UNC won is the PNM lost 100,000 voters. The PNM lost the election way more than the UNC swept the election. Patriotic Front did take some, yes. The PNM voters stayed home, 1, because there was a lower voter turnout, and 2, they dispersed into the third parties, Patriotic Front and NTA, because both parties received a fair amount of votes. So PNM lost the election way more than the UNC won. It's not that a new avalanche of people became very interested in the UNC. Not really. It's that there was a massive fall off and fall away from the PNM. A massive fallout. Wide Leather says Keisha didn't come out, Savitri came out. Wide Leather, if you continue down the racial undertones that you attempt to take in the live, I will block you permanently. And it will be bye-bye. We don't do those things here. I see Kizel wake up and go on vacation. Well, Kizel has always been in and out the country, eh? Nobody ties her down. She's a fighter. And APP got a couple thousand, was it? I read it earlier. They got a couple thousand votes. APP, not a couple thousand, a couple hundred, my bad. 718. That's not bad, man. She has said she would not be here permanently. Well, Kizel is Kizel. Kizel is Kizel. But I like that Patriotic Front got 21,000 votes. Remember, White Leather, weren't you arguing that she wouldn't get more than 1,000? Weren't you arguing that she wouldn't get more than 1,000? She got 21,000 votes. And I hope that she stays independent and stays on the landscape for the next 5 years. Because I would see that next 5 years, that 21,000 is only going to increase. And she may very well find herself in a unique position. She may very well find herself in a unique position because it's obvious that they peeled off some amount of PNM votes in many of the other constituencies. But even in UNC stronghold constituencies, she peeled off some too. So if you're able to have an appeal that crosses that PNM UNC line, that's a much wider area for you to fish from. A much wider area. Who knows? If you remain on the landscape, come next election, when people are upset with whatever the coalition of interest does, because that's how governments run. No one could run a government that's going to make everyone happy. So come next 5 years, when there is some amount of people upset, you may be able to capitalize on that, even more so than the PNM. If she had more campaign finances, I think she could have done even better. Maybe I think so. But I think maybe it might make more sense, instead of beholding yourself to some campaign financier who would have given you a boost in marketing for this election. But even with $1 billion in marketing, she would have never won this election. Good night, Krimak. She would have never won this election even with $1 billion in marketing. So what you would have done is gotten yourself sold to a financier already, with still not really getting a win. So maybe still remaining small, using whichever financiers you could at the moment, I think that might be better. Meanwhile, we are celebrating in Tobago. Tobago, no more PNM. Tobago has done this before, you know. That's nothing new for Tobago to kick out the PNM. That's not a new thing. Tobago did that in 2010. That's 15 years ago. It's not a new revelation for Tobago. Tobago has been seeking their own interests, running around with as many parties as they think could do that. So I hope they get it. Well, I don't know if I hope they get it actually, but it would be interesting to see if they would get it. Lyndon, do you think that the UNC government, the UNC and the coalition of interest government, would be more likely to give Tobago a bigger piece of the national budget pie? UNC did not win, PNM lost to arrogance and uncaring attitude. Yes, I agree 100%, Vladimir, and that seems to be what the voter turnout says. Adri says yes, True Ninja says I definitely hope so, and Lyndon says I believe so. Okay, we will see. You see, those aren't things, those aren't Good Vibe says yes to. Those aren't things that we have to wonder about. Those are things that we will see. Barring some catastrophe or God deciding to wrap the whole thing up, we're going to be very likely sitting right here come budget time, October, somewhere about there, looking at that very same thing, and we will see. We're gonna see. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what is in it for the UNC government to give Tobago a bigger share. Because keeping back that bigger share I believe keeping back a bigger share for Trinidad isn't just a matter of we don't like Tobago and we want to see them punished, you know. It's not about we want to see Tobago punished. That's not why a government would do that. You have a limited amount of money that you could spend in the budget. If you give more to Tobago, you have less that you could use on your own intents. Maybe the UNC central government would be very okay with that, and they have it planned already. We are going to see a special majority vote. That's why, yes, that is true. The two in Tobago would give the government a special majority if they vote together. You'll see. They will know how to manage, Good Vibe says. You see, Good Vibe, what you have to understand in that, is it's not about good management. Because even a good manager would prefer more resources to manage with. So it's literally a zero-sum game. More for Tobago means less to spend in Trinidad. That's literally what it means. But maybe that 3/5 majority is going to be most important. Listen, let me ask you a question. How many garbage do we send to the dump weekly? Give me a figure. Nah, you thinking about this bad. A lot has to do with good management. I'm not saying it doesn't have to do with good management. I don't see this coalition holding firm, too much sharks in the kitchen. The thing is, I saw somebody say on a post that they think the coalition is going to disintegrate and there's going to be a snap early election. I don't necessarily believe that, because technically speaking, the partnership didn't hold, you know. By the time we got to 2015, many members of the partnership weren't still inside of the partnership. But the UNC maintains a managing control of the whole thing. So even if there are currently sharks inside of the coalition, I don't think that the sharks would be strong enough to mash up the whole thing. I just don't think so. And in this incarnation of a coalition or partnership, the UNC actually has more power in this coalition than they did in the People's Partnership. This is UNC with the coalition of interests, while the partnership was the People's Partnership, as if it were a brand new entity. And as I pointed out, with the numbers of votes that the UNC got was only 20,000 more, which means the vast majority of the voters that won it, yes, Tessa, the vast majority of the voters that won it for the UNC were UNC core voters. This election, UNC got 334,000. Last election, they got 309,000. Most of the voters that led the UNC to victory were already UNC voters. So the UNC doesn't need all of those sharks that are hanging around really and truly. The Union, PEP, all of those guys, all together, basically brought 20,000 voters. Now, the truth is, the sentiment that was put out there, may have been the kind that decreased the PNM turnout. Maybe, but you can't really check that. How does UNC core voting explain St. Joseph and Tunapuna? Well, here's how it explains it. If you have a constituency that has 7,000 UNC voters and 8,000 PNM voters, and 2,000 of the PNM voters don't turn up, or 1,000 of the PNM voters vote for Patriotic Front and 1,000 don't turn up. So the PNM ends up with 6,000 voters. And all of the UNC core voters remain. The UNC would remain with their 7,000 to the PNM 6, therefore winning those constituencies. Your spirits seem not positive. Why? I'm always positive, sir. So I don't know. Let's use this as a positive change for our country to work and share together. I don't know what road you're trying to go down, sir, but I am not a water carrier for any government. I don't know if you just recently came into my life, but criticizing and speaking about the issues of the day is what we've been doing all along, and I'm not going to change it with the change of the government. What are your thoughts on what Philip may be able to contribute? I'm not a fan of him, just curious. I don't know what he's able to contribute. I don't know. I don't think they are going to put him in a very strong and forward-facing portfolio. But I also don't think that they're going to throw him to the wayside, because I don't think that would bode well for the coalition. You are not a water carrier, but you clearly favor one party over the other. I don't know. And as I said, I didn't vote for any of the main parties. I didn't hide that. I didn't vote for any of the main parties. Neither of them got my vote, but I did vote. Did Philip run for it? No, he didn't run for us. Yes, he did run for a seat, sorry, and no, he didn't win. Philip said he could fix it. I don't think Philip is in a very powerful position inside of the coalition. Philip would be a strong leader like Trump or Putin. All right. Okay. Like Trump or Putin. All right. You have a lot of hope in him. Okay. But I don't think that he is in a very powerful position. Now, the Union is in a powerful position. The Union has 2 seats. 2 seats. That's way more than Philip and team. Philip and team have nothing to show. The Union has 2 seats. That's enough to cause a bit of a sway. Mr. Alexander has a seat. The PNM lost. Was that a good thing? I think for the grand scheme of it, yes. I think in the grand scheme of things, for how the country has to go, it would be a good thing. And the reason I say that is because we saw a lot of the PNM votes disintegrate or split up into third parties. And that's what I'm hoping for. I hope that the third parties could grow in this country. What I would like to see is the coalitions that we see the UNC have to do in order to get rid of the PNM. I'd like to see those coalitions be made all around, and that we have numerous third parties with enough strength to make coalitions all around, so that no one or two parties have the general say on the direction of the country. Pandey and Gary lost Philip going to be a senator. Very likely he might be a senator, but that doesn't give you much say anyhow. Like, as I said, for my hope, how great would it have been? How great would it have been if Couva North went to Michaela Pandey? Granted, the UNC still won and swept as they swept, but Couva North went to Michaela Pandey. And now in Parliament, we wouldn't have just had the UNC team saying everything that the UNC wants to say, and the PNM team saying everything that the PNM wants to say. We have an independent voice, not beholden to anyone that can say what they want to say. Wouldn't that have been better? I think it would. I think it would. Now, I understand that for partisan people, that idea hurts their chest. The idea that my loyal team might be losing loyal base support. Oh no. But I think that's some of what we need. We need a lot of that. Even Philip and his quarrelsome guy self, if he was in Parliament all on his own, one seat, I don't think we would want them with more than one seat, but one seat where he could go and talk on his own, because he's the kind of guy that likes the attention and likes to make it look like he has something to do. He would have done a lot. He would have done the more. You all could imagine if Uncle Phil was in Parliament all on his own with one seat. Listen, the speaker would have been putting that man out every week. Especially if they give that man parliamentary privilege. Oh, good grief. You could imagine if Uncle Phil had parliamentary privilege and he was not beholden to any one of the major parties, he was just on his own. Like, as you all know, I'm not a fan, but there would have been a lot of noise. And he's gonna be speaker, I doubt it. I highly doubt it. I highly doubt it. Put Gary back on post as commissioner. I think that ship may have sailed. I think that ship may have sailed. We'll see. Who is my pick for speaker? I have no idea. I didn't even think about that. That's a strange question. That's not something that generally, you think about as who would be a pick for speaker. I don't know. They might put back Wade. They might put back Wade if I'm to guess. A senator does not have to be an MP. I know that. 868 just asking. I know that. But yeah, if I have to try, I guess I might say they might put back Wade. Wade has been a loyal guy there, so they may very well put him back. Who would be Attorney General, to me, is the most curious question as it stands. Speaker is Alexander Center for the comment. No. I am pretty certain Mr. Alexander is going to get a ministerial portfolio. I am pretty certain he's going to get a ministerial portfolio. I'm not sure what it's going to be, but I am pretty certain he's going to get that. He has a seat Minister of National Security. You know, I don't know. Like, Minister of National Security seems to be the obvious one, but I'm not sure. Because the Minister of National Security is really a managerial position, eh? So, White Leather says AG is obviously the most qualified person for the job, Anand. Granted, Anand might be the best lawyer in the UNC camp. I don't necessarily argue with that at all. But putting him as Attorney General is one surefire way to ensure you remain a single-term government. That's one sure way to make sure you remain a single-term government. That's not going to work. That's not going to work, I think. Alexander was not even a good... Sturge could be it, because he did win a seat also. Sturge could be it. But did the PNM do anything to resolve crime? What that mean? Umlala for AG. Doubt. Adventure probably, but did the PNM do anything to resolve crime? I'm sure they did something to attempt it, but was crime resolved? No, but they were voted out. So I don't even know what's the positioning of that question. Why are we? I don't know. But you know that that's going to be something said every day for the next 5 years. That's going to be something said every day for the next 5 years. Every time a criticism is brought up about the current government, they are going to point at the last government. It is what is going to happen. The AG is going to be a female person. Remember, I said it first. All right, Vladimir? Who is a female attorney high up inside of the UNC? Jayanti Lakshmi. That might be the most visible. Behave yourself, Dishan. You see, White Leather has already practiced. Yeah, Rowley blamed Kamala for a decade. You ain't accustomed to that yet. So, if that's the case, are we supposed to allow that to go on for our next decade? And if let's say Cam stays in for a decade on her own, and she blames Rowley for a decade, is the next person to come in to say that, well, I could do it because Kamala did it to Rowley for a decade, and then the next person do the same thing, and the next person do, like, when are we going to get out of that loop? Be honest, seeing Philip Roger, Jack Warner, KPB Fuad, Abubakar Fali, and Sil Roche together. Not one thing is going to happen with crime. I want to hear the excuses. Rowley won't be in parliament. You do it right now. Do so really don't like so. I don't know who is the do so, you know. I don't know who is the do so, because my name is not Dr. Rowley. Public utilities, Kramak, you say? The treasury is empty. That's how governments start the ground running. There needs to be more transparency with regards to the blame game. Show us on the facts and paper. Richard, bro, you'd recognize that when people are sold to a partisan group, it really doesn't matter to them. Their group could pee on them and tell them it's raining. As long as it's the pee from their group, they are going to drink it all up. They don't mind. As long as it's my group pee. My group could pee on me and tell me it's raining. But you can't do it. But my people could do it. Your people, Self-interest is going to be crazy. You all vex bad. Who vex? I'm not vexed. I'm not vexed at all. UNC are going after that dragon gas deal. What do you mean going after? What do you mean going after? How would they go after it? P is the language. How are they going to go after that deal? Facts, nobody likes public servants lazy because salary guarantee need to privatize many sectors. Good luck with that one, because I don't know how the UNC would get away privatizing anything. They are currently linked to the unions. They are going to have a massive falling out to be privatizing a lot of those things. No union is for privatization. Interesting times. Did you see the statement from Marco Rubio? No, I did not see it. They said they will renegotiate. There isn't anything to renegotiate right now. I think laptops for all coming soon. You want one? Laptops wouldn't be for all. I'm way past the time for my laptop. Maybe my children might get some, who knows. The roads, water issues, more police patrols in rural areas where the crimes are very high. What I would like to see is lock down the hotspot areas and solve 90% of the home invasions. Because as I've said over and over in this live over the last couple years, every time they arrest or kill someone involved in a home invasion, you can kind of guess the residents. And I find, I don't care if you call it discrimination, I find at some point in time we have to use common sense in how we deal with the crime situation in the country. And my view on Trinidad and Tobago is by and large not too bad in most areas, except crime. Crime is genuinely horrible in this country. Many of the other areas that we whinge and complain about, if you look at it comparatively compared to most places around the world, it's there and thereabouts. We aren't paid that horribly. The prices aren't the worst anywhere in the world. Our health sector isn't the worst in the world, not even close to it. But crime genuinely is horrible. That's one that we really do need to get a hold on. Today feels light and breezy, like when you smoke out your place. White Leather, are you and Good Vibes the same person by chance? And I pray to never be so affected by political choices, because we can't really sway them like that. I was asking if you and White Leather are the same person. Watch what White Leather is saying there today, feeling light and breezy like when you smoke out your place. That was like basically the essence of the first 50 messages you sent in. But yeah, who win, who lose doesn't make me feel light or heavy. It doesn't make me feel light or heavy. It doesn't have an effect on me like that. Either way, my work remains the same. I don't have a government job, so they won't, hopefully, they can't make me lose my job or give me another job. Or maybe they could pass out a contract here and there, and that would indeed help. But by and large, I don't depend on the government to live. So as they change, it doesn't depress me or soar my spirits as such. We need a war on crime. Philippines and El Salvador, I presume you mean. Style, I agree. I was out in public today. I went to the supermarket and the nation is at ease. Omar says life still goes on after elections. So why so melancholic? I am melancholic. Vladimir says I could do it a free vehicle inspection for... Hey! on that note, I don't mind if they reverse that inspection ticket business. I don't mind if they give the nation an ease up on that whole ticketing business. See that whole thing where the police seem like the main purpose is giving tickets? Tanticams, ease me up on that. Property tax, well, I mean, that was a given. That has been what the UNC says they're fighting since 2010. So that's a given. But that ticket business, you see that nonsense, they come in with the auto, like how it is. Before we could get body cams, these fellas have some auto printout nonsense in there. Boy, let them men write up the tickets now, man. The people you vote for must answer to you. Do not be afraid to question them, okay? The higher you climb, the farther you see, correct? They will review it. Good vibe, I hope you have an inside plug, and that is true. They could start with the freeze on tickets and inspection. I agree with that. Like, here's the thing for me on the inspections. I don't think Trinidad is in the place to demand people's cars at that level. I don't think that's where our country is at. I don't think that's where our country is at. We are not in the place where all cars have to be brand new cars rolling off the showroom lot. Like, no. Allow the poor people a little blinder. Allow the poor people to drive. Allow the poor people. By the poor people, I mean myself. But allow the people on the road. That might increase the market, the free market in our system, the churning of our economy, allowing people to jump in their cars and go about their lives without looking for police hiding around every corner trying to strip you of a $2,000 every now and again. But the big picture, jobs and safe country. I'll say the big picture is safe country. To be honest, I don't care for the government to supply jobs. I don't think that's what the government is really there for. To facilitate job growth, sure, but to supply jobs, I don't want that. That's like people talking about the 10%. I saw the police service welfare guys already there saying he's waiting on the government to keep their 10% promise. We'll see about that. I don't mind if they break that promise to you all, you know. I don't mind if the public servants don't get that 10%. I'm sorry. Unpopular opinion. I don't mind if you all do get that 10%. A safe country brings in more tourists and helps build the economy. Fact. Safe is the primary thing. If this government could come in and make the country considerably safer, they have done much of what is expected of them. That's about as good as I'd like. Safe. Safe means you could expand businesses. You could open your business at night time. Safe means you don't have to spend half of your profits on security. Safe means that the agricultural sector could boom again. Right now, almost all of the animal farmers are afraid to put animals out there. You could never, in Trinidad and Tobago right now, you cannot go and buy 24 cows and put them out to pasture in some distant pasture and think just once you have your shed and stuff they receive. No, you can't do that. The country isn't safe enough to do that. Tourists need to be safe and we don't have clean places. Like personally, I don't even care for the tourism as much. The safety I want isn't for the tourists. Like, even if the tourists don't come, I'd prefer to be safe. In order to have a safe country, there needs to be a purging of the police service top down, I agree. Boss says, I need a permanent job, not a relief post. If she can't do that with job creation, job creation, I'll be UNC for life. I don't think it's the government's job to give you a job. I'm sorry, I just don't think that's the government's position. The government's position is to make the economy such that you can go out there and get a job without much of a worry. You can go out there and create a job. Start a trade, start a skill, be entrepreneurial. But I don't think it's necessarily the government's job to go and give you that job. Well, them cows gone. The owner will come for it, for sure. Like you just comb that mustache every day. Not really, just give it a little twirl. We contractors spend a considerable amount of our money on security. Fact. And the days where now, even as a contractor, it's hard to even hire the small man, because the small man from the road that you hire from the side of the road, he doesn't have an account. So now you need to pay him in cash. So now Friday you have to go down in the bank, take out money out of the ATM and drive down to a job site with a couple thousand on you in cash. No contractor wants to do that. So now you're squeezing all the small men, they have to go and open bank accounts. But many of them don't even have bank accounts. So now you can't even get a work because you don't have a bank account. And I don't want to take the risk of dealing with cash. That is happening. That is happening. We'll see. Some of them don't even have ID exactly. So how are they going to get a bank account? And I don't mind paying you cash. I don't mind. I mind that there might be some guys looking to lock my neck to take that cash from me. People want cheap food and easy to access homes. People want to make a living. People want to make a living. Not to mention the amount of extortion. Well, for that purpose, many contractors, me included, we just would not go in certain areas. Putting centers in different communities with trade workers to teach the youth, bro, I'm not sure that's it. We don't need any more help to help the poor youths in the community. No, we need crime fighting. We need crime fighting. We don't need midnight basketball. We don't need live sport. We don't need Color Me Orange. We don't need any of those kinds of initiatives. We have had enough. Them boys don't need more sports. They need police on the back. That's what we need. And for too long, I think for too long we've been asking the community leaders what they need, and the community leaders keep telling you invest, and you're spending money paying some community leader to just facilitate more criminal activity. No, clean up those communities, clean up the crime, and then they will play football all on their own. Regular thing, 868 just asking regular thing. I will not work in certain areas for sure, because there are certain areas you go to work and even if it's not very heavy, soft-handed style, two men walk up on your job site and say, you know, you had to hire some men from the area, you know. You had to hire some men from the area, otherwise, you know, you never know how that could get people in the area vexed. But I didn't plan to hire two of you. You all aren't part of my team. So now I have to find an extra, how much of 100 per day just to pay you? Regular, it's a regular thing. So, and that hurts business. So there is a lot of cleanup to do. That's actually crazy. That's very normal. That's very normal. That is extremely normal. Nearly every contractor would know that. You go into an area, some strangers come up. Sometimes is some men, just random men trying to pressure you. Sometimes it's connected men trying to pressure you. Either way, you don't know. It's just some men from the area and they come looking for work, but they're looking to squeeze you to make sure you hire them. And if you hire them under duress, you can't fire them. So they could come to work 10 o'clock, leave 2 o'clock, lime whole day, smoke weed on your job site. And remember, you already hired them because you were a bit worried about what was going to happen. So are you going to fire them now? You says not gonna happen even with Alexander Kamla going and dump money in gang's pocket. If you know that, you know that. I don't know. I don't know. I hope not. The police will be more active now. We will see. It should be a hiring process. Don't matter where they come from. Should be. But yes, you see, for many people, they prefer just not to go through the hassle. Alright, there's the violence against you that there could be. But then if it's a job site, the chances are, almost surely as a contractor, if you're doing something on a job site, you would have things of value remaining on the job site, even if it's just materials. And if you have enemies in a community, it's going to be very difficult to run a job site in that community. What do you do when every day some of your stock goes missing? You can't leave a tool on site, otherwise it goes missing. And that's beside the actual physical threat that there might be. I have little hope for crime reduction unless the TTPS is purged. I always say that. I say that regularly. The crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago, I think, would only be solved if we have honest and earnest police service. And we'll see how that goes. All right, people. That's all I have for now. Thank you for tuning in. This has been the Mindful Live. I'll be here again tomorrow for the next show around that 9:30 p.m. time. Until then, people, I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. Hold it down. Stay good. Stay well. It's a brand new day in our country. New leadership. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be some very interesting times. Have a good night, folks. I'm out. Peace. Wait. I now recognize I never did even look over at YouTube. Wow, I am sorry, YouTubers. Let me see if there were any comments there over on YouTube that I missed. Anything there? Good night, Kareem Del Per. Some people believe the ABC doctoring the results. I don't think so. Barbados in the house. Good night, Rashid Holder. Roger Alexander surprised me with his win. Yeah. Tunapuna was a surprise to some extent. Alright, people. Laters. I have a degree at the NCRHA. Government simply not hiring on it unless someone resign or retire.